Oh, Dub Nation, let's talk Golden State Warriors. What a day yesterday, right? Who else is happy? Dance with me. Who else is happy? Great surprise. I didn't expect everything to happen. Couple of hours, as you might know, we had the second round of the NBA draft yesterday, and a couple of hours before the draft, we heard that the Warriors were making a trade. But then late night, we also heard that they actually reacquired the 52nd pick. So we end up getting two players yesterday instead of one. And on top of that, we also signed an undrafted player. We're going to cover all of that today. And reminding that today is the final day to decide about Chris Paul. So let's all talk about that. So first of all, second day of the NBA draft, I think no major surprise. I feel like picks different than what was expected for the first day. The Warriors were not involved. And then we jump to the second day where we have the 52nd pick. So I was expecting, and we told here before, that the Warriors were going for a center. And my bet was on Adem Bona, the guy from UCLA. That is the past video. You can see here what I was commenting if you want. That said, a couple of hours before the draft came out the news that the Warriors were trading the 52nd pick for the small guard Lindy Waters III. He's a player from Oklahoma, if you don't know. He has been in the rotation, not that many minutes. So obviously, when the news came out, I started looking at his stats, and he's in his third year. He actually had way more minutes in his first. I'm going to put the stats here on the screen, as you can see. But he's like, and that was the whole day yesterday, proved that the Warriors didn't go out of what is their bread and butter, right? So they basically got really good shooting players, and Lindy Waters it's a case. So he's a good three-point shooter, and I think he's going to be valuable for the rotation. He could prove to be even more valuable in case Klay Thompson is not coming back. So I'm happy with the decision that the Warriors made. It's a guy that is 3 years in the league, so he already have that experience on how the things work. So I do think that he can add to the team, and if we still to see is he going to have more minutes or not. I think that his best season was his rookie one, where he was averaging 8 points per game, playing around 7 minutes or something like that. So I do think with more time, if he's going to have that, obviously reminding that the Warriors also have to make a decision about other players, including Kevin Looney, Moses Moody, how Moody is going to play out with these new guys coming. Is he going to get more minutes or not? So a lot of things going on, but I think was a good decision, was that trade. And then later, so I was watching the second day, right? I was curious more to see okay, the Warriors already traded their pick, but who are they bringing, right? Who is going to OKC? And then they announced that they were picking the center from Boston College, Quinten Post. When I saw that, I was like, man, that was a good pick, right? That was a center, 7 feet tall, and he's a shooter. He has averaged over 3 attempts per game in his last season, over 40%, 43% shooting from downtown. So it's like, this guy, it's sort of what the Warriors needed. And then for my surprise, I got the confirmation that actually the Warriors sent some money for OKC to reacquire that pick. It's odd, right? It's not something that we see all the time. And then later, Mike Dunleavy Jr., he actually mentioned in an interview that they were not really planning that when they traded first for Lindy Waters, right? So that came later when they made the trade, and then they were like, okay, now we are out of the second day. What do we do, right? So they were checking who was available, how they could make, and then odd or not, but this 52nd pick, the same one that was the Warriors pick before, was available. So they sent some money to OKC, and they got this guy, which I think is going to be a big for the rotation for the Warriors. He has a size, he's a good shooter, so I think he can fit. But that also turned on the alert that the Warriors might be strongly considering to trade Kevin Looney, right? I know they extended, and I said here in the past video that they guarantee his $8 million contract, but they could include him in one of the trades. Mainly that right now we have both Tracy Jackson and now the Quinten post. So they could be focusing on developing these guys, and the Warriors are really good at it. There's actually a thing that Mike Dunleavy Jr. also said a couple of days ago, that he really believes on the development of the rookies, of the young players, as actually the main path to make a strong team. So that could be an alert that Looney might be seeing his last days as a Warriors player, but it's still open to see. And then last, towards the end of the night, they announced that they signed an undrafted player, Reece Beckman. Reece is a point guard. He's actually a small point, like really, really a small point guard. He's 6'1", so he's smaller than Curry, if I'm not wrong. And so they signed him a two-way. He was undrafted. He's also from Milwaukee, which is curious because the Warriors have been signing and drafting a lot of players from Milwaukee, like Kevin Looney, Jordan Poole, a few other ones. And so he's coming. He's probably going to be a backup. It's a two-way contract. I see how he developed. He's a really strong defensive player, what is interesting. He was a part of the all-defensive team in college. So it's an interesting pick and draft. Let's see how that developed. And that's curious, right? Because the Warriors, as we spoke here before, they kept on their core style of play, right? They're still developing everything around like the shooting, really good shooters, the ball movement, and with some, but not that many, like athletic players or ISOs. Is more about more ball movement because our core is around Stephen Curry, and that's how we develop, and we won 4 titles, right? That said, all the picks they aligned, but at the same time, I think they did it really well because, as we said here before, there was 2 major gaps, right? We needed size. We needed a center or maybe a power forward, but a really tall one, like to bring that. I do think we lost so many games last season and the season before for the lack of sizing and the rebounds. So they got that. They also got a really good shooter that is a wing, Lindy Waters, which can add more or less value depending on if Thompson is coming back or not, and how much time Moody is gonna have this year and how much he's gonna develop. And then they also got a point guard, which might also be an indicator that Chris Paul might be waived. And then talking about Chris Paul, as we know, today is the day that the Warriors have to make the final decision. So at the time that I'm recording this video, the news is not out yet. We don't know what's going to happen. But as I said here before, for me, it's a done deal. Unfortunately, it's too expensive, $30 million contract. I don't think the Warriors are making that. And I know the cap rules are a little bit complicated to understand, but the movements that the Warriors made yesterday, they blocked the Warriors to go above the second apron, which I think wasn't part of their goal anyway. And Mike Dunleavy Jr. already said that they were aware of that. So I do think for the sake of having more space to add a few other players and maybe making a major trade, I don't see the Warriors sticking with Chris Paul at this point. Maybe they sign him in a sign-in trade and then involve someone else, but I don't think the Warriors will see Chris Paul in the Warriors jersey again. So yeah, I wanted to bring the news. I hope you enjoyed the draft. I can say that the season is starting. This is when the funds start coming. We're going to keep an eye yet on what is happening with Klay Thompson. I'll bring later the news about Chris Paul. I hope you enjoyed the draft. I hope you enjoyed the Warriors pick. Have a great day. Bye.